Sometimes when I'm looking for a fly to tie for this channel, I just flip through a book till I find something interesting that I've never tied before. And I found one today in Martin Ford's Fishing Flies from 1999. And the one that caught my attention today is called the Dog Nobbler. It's that big green one right there on the front. And aside from it just having a really cool name, it looked like a pretty fun fly and certainly not hard to tie. So a quick bit of research and I learned that it's a British pattern created by Sid Knight, originally for reservoir fishing. But I am eyeing this thing as a general attractor baitfish streamer. Now I might put a few of these in my trout box, but I'm really thinking of it as a warm water bass or panfish fly. And one note, Barry Ord Clark does have a video of this where he bends the front of the hook and puts some weighted wraps up front, which is how I'm going to tie it for you today. But Jim Mashura also has a video of it where he does not bend the hook and he weights the whole fly. So how you do this part I think is totally up to you. But the color combinations on this thing, they're practically endless. And I'm going with a pink and gray because why not? I'm not tying this as a leech imitation. I'm tying it as an attractor fly for my warm water box. So there it is, a Dog Nobbler. And this one's a pink and gray. Like I should have said in the intro, the color combinations of this thing are endless. And I'm assuming they should be tied pretty big. This is a size 8, 3X long nymph hook. And I'm going to bend the tip down, just got my needle nose pliers here, and just give it about a 30 or so degree bend right there. I might have gone a little bit far on that one, but I think we're going to be just fine. Now I'm going to catch in some black thread, take it back here to the start of or about where the barb was. And for the tail, just a medium-sized tuft of Marabou. And I'm going to go with the gray. And you're going to want it to be pretty long. I'd say a little bit longer than the body. So we'll go right here and we'll snip that off, make it a little easier to work with. Now just a pinch wrap right here. Catch this in. Now I'm going to part my thread right up here at that bend and catch in my rib. The first one I did, I caught it in at the back here, and I ended up with the back of the fly being just a little bit thicker than I liked. So I'm going to go ahead and catch it in up front. This is a silver tinsel and oval tinsel and silver. And I've kind of messed that up. So when that happens, just snip it and start over. Get a new little tie-in point right here and we should be fine. So what this does for you catching it up front, it will help you minimize having a big bump there in the back. It's still going to be a little thicker in the back, but we can live with that. So I'm going to take my thread back up front and catch in the chenille. And I can get away with doing this, catching the chenille in up front, because this is a thin chenille. If you were using a medium or thicker, you might want to just catch it in at the back, strip a little bit of it off and just catch in the thread core. But since this is a thin, we're going to be fine right there. And leave the thread up here at the bend. That's where we're going to catch off and stop the body. So go ahead and wrap this up. Just pretty tight turns right next to each other. Catch that off with a few wraps and snip that excess. If you have any fluff, you can go ahead and pull that off just to try to keep this area right there as flat as possible. Now let's just counter wrap this rib. And the purpose of counter wrapping it, I think, well, it should make it a little stronger, and it will also keep this rib from falling down in the grooves of that chenille. Okay, that last wrap was a little bit wonky, but we're going to be fine because we'll cover it with some of this wire wrap. So next up, just some wire wrap, and I'm going to use an 015. I should get about 5, maybe 6 wraps right here. We'll see. Oh, that's a little bit all over the place. I think that's 5 wraps. That's going to work just fine. Now I'm going to spend a few thread wraps just to try to smooth this out before we catch in our last component, which is the Peacock herl. Now I've got 3 strands of Peacock herl right here. I've snipped off the brittle ends. I'll put a loose wrap right there, pull it a little shorter, and just a few wraps right here. Leave my thread up right behind the eye. And sometimes I tilt my hook up just so the thread doesn't fall off right there. Now just wrap this up, cover all this weighted wraps. Now a few wraps, just give some room for a whip finish. And I haven't been putting head cement on this. I'm just doing 2-3 turn whip finishes here. So there we go, a pink Dog Nobbler. And what I think the purpose of that weight on the bend of the hook is, if you're fishing this as a still water fly like they did back in the reservoir, it might, you know, ride upside down and with the, you know, the front of the hook kind of pointing down. So I think that's the intent of weighting it like that. I'm not really sure, but it does make sense. So I appreciate you watching, everybody. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next time.